For almost a year now, I've watched an Adam Sandler movie every week with my friend Marie for a podcast called Adam Sandler Please Stop. At first, it seemed like a super fun idea, but as the weeks passed, I found myself dreading having to watch another Sandler film. There's just something about these films. Maybe it's how lazy they are, maybe it's how you could see the talent and humor behind what they're actually presenting to you, but there's just something special and awful there at the same time. Now, making a complete list of Adam Sandler films is obviously nothing new, but I kind of noticed something when looking at other lists. I would say most of them have not actually watched all the films start to finish, and a lot of them depend on nostalgia for his earlier films. This list was created week by week while watching his movies in order of theatrical release. That doesn't mean that it's better than the other lists because this is all super subjective, but I do think watching all of them together in this short period of time does help when ranking. I'll be presenting the rankings from first to worst because it is almost impossible to give any kind of praise to the good films after talking about all the bad ones. Before we get started, just want to say that Airheads is not on this list. We did watch that film, and while we enjoyed it, we concluded that it is in no way an Adam Sandler film. It's actually probably closer to a Chris Farley film. Oh, and also, there's gonna be spoilers ahead, duh. On to the rankings. Number 1, PunchDrunk Love. My number 1 and 2 are extremely close and can probably flip in the future, but for right now, this sits at my number 1. It's written and directed by Paul Thomas Anderson, who also wrote and directed films like Boogie Nights, Magnolia, and There Will Be Blood. Now, he's not everyone's cup of tea, but I really enjoy his work. Adam Sandler plays this character, Barry Egan, who's extremely timid and introverted, but every now and then he has these violent outbursts. My favorite part of this film is how it addresses the social anxiety Sandler's character is experiencing. I feel like half the dialogue in this film isn't actually what the other characters are saying, but what Barry feels they're saying to him.
You remember?
I don't remember that.
Yes, you do. You were calling you gay boy and you got so mad. Are you gay now?
I don't know. I don't know.
Now, the film does have what a lot of people call an art house vibe to it, and the whole style of the film can be off-putting to some people. My co-host was one of those people, but I personally really enjoyed it. And out of all of Sandler's performances, I find this to be his best. It's a very difficult role, and Sandler pulls it off amazingly here. He does such a fantastic job with this emotionally complex character that feels real, but so real at the same time. It's one of those films that gets better after repeat viewings.
I don't like myself sometimes. Can you help me?
Barry, I'm a dentist. What kind of help do you think I can give you?
Number 2, the Meyerowitz Stories. The dialogue here is expertly crafted, and the opening scene is a microcosm of this. Adam Sandler is talking to his daughter while trying to find a place to park. Super simple, but extremely enjoyable. Exposition is perfectly mixed with comedy, establishing the characters and their father-daughter relationship.
Do you like the photographer Cindy Sherman? Marcus and I went to the Cindy Sherman show in Mobile last week.
Yes, I like Cindy Sherman.
What?
I told you about Cindy Sherman like 2 years ago.
I don't remember.
I did, and you had absolutely no interest.
I don't know.
When Marcus tells you suddenly you listen.
It's just so engaging to watch, with so many great moments. It does this fantastic job of being serious and funny at the same time. For example, there's this big build-up to this fight, and they start fighting and pushing each other and rolling around, and then they do this amazing jump cut.
We want to thank Bart for making this show happen, and thank many of you for making the trip.
He's like sweaty and out of breath. He still has grass on his face. It's perfect. It's a great study of the family dichotomy and how we're more like our parents than we thought we would be. Actually, that's all I want to say about this film, because the more I show and talk about it, I feel like it kind of ruins it, and I think it's something that should be seen.
There's always us, Mommy and Daddy and Genius Girl make 3.
Number 3, The Wedding Singer. This is one of the biggest surprises while watching his films. I remember it being good, but really nothing special, probably because 1998 was filled with movies that I absolutely loved. Any poops. Wedding Singer is a perfect romantic comedy, which I know isn't saying much because the genre isn't supposed to be groundbreaking. It follows all the beats and tropes of a romantic comedy, but it has so much heart and it's so funny that you don't care. Now, some of the gags didn't age well.
You don't stop the rock to the bang bang boogie, say up jump the boogie to the rhythm of the boogie them beat.
But others are still amazing.
He's losing his mind. And I'm reaping all the benefits.
Overall, it's extremely enjoyable, and it's something that Adam Sandler would spend several other films trying to replicate. But we'll get to that later. For now, Wedding Singer is classic Sandler at his best.
I could be the man who grows old with you. I wanna grow with you.
Number 4, Billy Madison.
How could you pick Billy Madison over Happy Gilmore? You are an idiot. Get out of here with that weak
Settle. This one was really difficult for me. Just like my 1 and 2, my 4 and 5 could easily be flipped. But to me, Billy Madison is able to sustain more laughs and takes more risks than Happy Gilmore. It builds this really fun reality with a great overall tone, and they're able to present this really silly idea of a grown man repeating each grade to prove to his dad that he should run the family company, and make you not care how silly it is.
I had an accident.
You had an accident? What does that mean?
It's also one of those films that has a great bad guy, but it doesn't focus on him too much or the main plot because it realized if it tried, it would get too bogged down, and that's not where the comedy is here. This is Adam Sandler acting like a man-child, but a man-child with heart, something missing from his other films. The 90s were filled with outlandish comedies, and while they were fun, they were mostly just stupid. Now, of course, Billy Madison is also stupid, but it knows this, and the jokes are so skillfully written that you don't care. It was written by Tim Herlihy, that's him in the film, by the way, in the quiz scene.
I award you no points, and may God have mercy on your soul.
Okay, a simple wrong would have done just fine, but
With help from Adam Sandler. Tim also wrote Happy Gilmore and The Wedding Singer, so you know this guy knows what he's doing. Well, up until the year 2000. Then things get bad. But Billy Madison is a classic.
Everybody on? Good, great, grand, wonderful. No yelling on the bus!
Number 5, Happy Gilmore. Happy Gilmore takes that sweet, farcical tone of Billy Madison and brings it to a film about sticking it to the man. Rewatching it also made me fully appreciate how good of a job Christopher McDonald does playing Shooter McGavin.
You're in big trouble though, pal. I eat pieces of shit like you for breakfast.
You eat pieces of shit for breakfast?
No.
He is the perfect antagonist, and that's also a key component missing in future Sandler films. There's so many little things that you forgot about. Ben Stiller's in this, he's uncredited as the caretaker, and the film reminds you that Subway used to cut their sandwiches with the V shape in the top for some reason. Remember that? Yeah, do you remember? It's a ton of fun and still really holds up.
Yeah, what happened?
They wouldn't let me play on the Pro Tour anymore.
Oh, I'm sorry. Because you're black?
Hell no. Damn alligator bit my hand off.
Oh my God!
Yeah.
Number 6, Men, Women, and Children. What? You've never heard of this film? That's probably because it was pulled from theaters due to horrific ticket sales. It doesn't help that it was released the same weekend that the limited release of Birdman was. It's a movie about growing up and parenting during the social media age. Many critics panned it at the time of its release. One critic from Newsday said, "As the narratives build towards their predictable conclusions, Men, Women, and Children seems wholly unaware that these various evils existed long before Facebook and Instagram." And while I kind of agree with it, I think that last part of the criticism kind of misses the point. The film isn't trying to say that technology is the cause of these problems, but is just trying to tell a story that has already been told in a different way using technology. We all know that so many movies are just telling the same story in a slightly different way, and I don't think the film deserves that criticism. Now that said, is it something that you should rush to see? No, it's not a great movie. It mostly suffers from being way too obvious and overbearing with its themes. This one is extremely uneven, but at least Sandler is actually trying in this. Actually, everyone's trying in this, except maybe Jennifer Gardner, who's a little over the top. but the actors playing high school kids are crushing it. The fact that this sits at number 6 actually says more about the rest of the films on this list than Men, Women, and Children itself.
I mean, I don't know, we can talk if you want, but I don't really see the point.
Whatever.
I know.
Number 7, Spanglish. Probably one of the worst uses of narration ever in a film.
Such was my mother's need to protect me, that she would not let me see her cry.
It's so obnoxious and tells us things that characters will repeat just moments later. If I wasn't watching this for a podcast, I probably would have stopped at 2 minutes in. But the film does reward you for sticking through the first half with 2 great scenes. Scenes that are so good that if it wasn't for them, this film would be so much lower on my list. It feels like writer-director James L. Brooks wrote 2 great scenes and then just tried to build a movie around those scenes with annoying one-dimensional characters. It also suffers heavily from Brooks' style of filmmaking, which I personally do not enjoy. It feels more like a soap opera than a film most of the time. All that said, Adam Sandler gives a really solid performance. So do yourself a favor, don't watch the whole film. Just watch this scene and maybe this scene. You don't need any context, they explain themselves. It's worth noting that Paz Vega didn't speak English when starting this film, and they filmed it in sequential order, so she actually learns English as the film goes on, which is pretty cool.
I'll answer everything and anything and more.
What other questions could there be?
Are you really that much nicer than me?
Well, you don't set the bar real high.
Number 8, Mr. Deeds. So, for some reason, Adam Sandler did a remake of the 1936 film Mr. Deeds Goes to Town. Who wanted to see that? Me, apparently, because that's something I saw when it came out, because Sandler hadn't completely destroyed his reputation, and I was a Sandler fan. It's extremely corny and stupid, but somehow it has enough charm to kinda pull it off. One of the biggest reasons is John Turturro. He is so likable.
That's Hawaiian punch.
He adores Hawaiian punch.
Wow! You kind of just snuck up on me there, man.
I fear you're underestimating the sneakiness, sir.
Winona Ryder plays the love interest with classic Winona Ryder face. A big problem in this film is Adam Sandler, like in most of his movies, can just beat up anybody he desires. Because, if you didn't know, that's a comedian's strength. Yeah, it's not their words or their wits, it's punching. The slapstick is some of the worst in all of his films because it just really seems out of place here. This was one of the first red flags we noticed when watching Sandler films. Waterboy did so well for him, and it was filled with this exact same style of slapstick. So Sandler thinks, hey, it worked there, so it'll work here. Unfortunately, that's not how comedy or even basic filmmaking works. All that said, yes, it's not a good film, but as far as Sandler films go, it's not bad.
Yeah, that's it. Ow! You're sick! You're sick! Why would you do that to me? I'm just kidding you, pal.
Number 9, 50 First Dates. Way lower on this list than I originally expected. It just doesn't come close to capturing that same magic that The Wedding Singer had, mostly because the script was awful. And while The Wedding Singer was filled with these super fun characters, 50 First Dates decides to go super lazy with stereotypes and whatever kind of joke they're trying to do here.
Shut up, because here comes one time only opportunity. What I will do now is go into your office and become naked.
Oh yeah, and Rob Schneider, yeah, he's Samoan for some reason. How is that okay? I don't know. I hope it doesn't make you too upset because Rob Schneider gets way worse as the list goes on. The movie does have some good heartfelt moments and has strong nostalgia for a lot of people, so I can understand why so many people enjoy this film, but it also has some of the most unintentionally funny moments in any Sandler movie. Number 10, funny people. Funny People is 3 different movies kind of squished into one, and it feels like it. Major plot points come and go while you're sitting there wondering when the movie will decide to end. To me, this film is so close to being good, but it suffers from 2 main issues. One, if you're gonna write a movie about people in stand-up comedy, then maybe you should write some good jokes.
I miss the dry hump because you don't need a big to be a good dry humper. You just need a big thigh. That's all you need.
It's just 2.5 hours of dick jokes. And number 2 is it tries to do too much, and what it does attempt, it backs out of. So many things that you think are going to be important are kind of just thrown away to chase other plot points. Now, if this was a miniseries or TV show, it would have been awesome. It would allow them to explore everything that they're trying to explore here and cash in on the awesome relationships that they established. They do a great job of setting up those relationships. Just imagine if they were able to make a TV show with these actors. It would have blown our minds in 2009. It's number 10 on the list because it swung for the fences, it has great moments, and most importantly, there are 26 other Sandler films that are worse than it.
Who the is that guy right there? That guy right there. What? Ray Romano's bothering you? Who? Ray who? Ray Romano, the guy from Everybody Loves Raymond? Who what show he's on? This motherfucker up, man. Hey, Ray!
Hello, Marshall.
Number 11, Reign Over Me. I really wanted to like this film. It's Adam taking another shot at a serious film, and it does an okay job, but the biggest problem is he's just kind of meant to mope around and not talk for most of the film. It's really just a kind of a problem for the film as a whole. It's all completely one note. It's one idea stretched really thin of, hey, this guy lost his family in the September 11th attacks and he's having a hard time with it. How do we tell this story? We introduce an old college roommate and he learns what happened so the audience can learn with him. Which this is fine, but there's no complexity to any character. There's no real arc of the story. Don Cheadle's character is the only one that does slightly grow and does slightly change, but it's really hard to care. It's okay at best, but at least Sandler is trying. And bonus points, it has Liv Tyler. Number 12, Big Daddy. I used to love Big Daddy, but I also used to love backwards hats, so I'm an idiot. When it was released, I thought it was cute and funny, but then I saw it again. Oh, what a mess. The timeline doesn't match up, the jokes are few and far between, it is very mean-spirited, there's a lot of quotable moments.
I had a doll like that one time, but my cat, he bite his head off.
What kind of cat would do that?
You calling me a liar?
Now, I would say that's offensive, but I have no idea what ethnicity Rob Schneider is trying to mock here. Also, again, you guys have no idea how bad Rob Schneider gets. It is so tame here. It's not a good film, and I think a lot of people still like it because of nostalgia, which is totally understandable. I mean, I still listen to The Offspring. Don't judge me and I won't judge you. Oh, and it has another awful courtroom scene. You watch this thing, and you're supposed to be siding with Adam Sandler, but if you have half a brain, you're siding with the judge. This sits at a solid 12 on my list.
Look at this guy over here. He's probably a nice little boy just like you. Then his dad messed his mind up. Now look at him. Hey, buddy, who won the Jets game, you know?
Who cares?
Let it go, pal. He can't control you anymore.
What are you talking about?
You know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, you're a loser.
You're mad at your dad, not at me. I forgive you.
I am. I hate my father.
Number 13, The Waterboy. The Waterboy is high on a lot of lists, and I have a feeling it's because of that nostalgia monster again. When this thing came out, I loved it. But again, I also loved puka shell necklaces, so I'm an idiot. This film has not aged well at all. Adam Sandler plays an idiot who is really good at hitting people, so basically half his roles. It's only this high on my list because all the quotable moments.
Mama says that alligators are ornery because they got all them teeth but no toothbrush.
Also, watching this part again made me and my co-host die.
I came into my office, I went under my desk, I cried like a 10-year-old girl.
What is that noise? With all these quotable moments and silliness, it's fine, but it also raises a lot of questions on why we used to think some of these things were funny.
You can do it!
Why is the "you can do it" guy funny? Because it's kind of a double entendre? Because it's fun to say? In the late 90s, just kind of yelling things positively was enough to get a catchphrase.
Hello? What's that?
Can I do that?
You can do it!
Even if you watched the film recently and still really like it, I want you to know this. With inflation, this is one of Sandler's highest grossing comedies, and because of that is why we have so many awful tropes that will never go away in his films.
Halt! I forbid you to talk to that enchantress. She's the devil.
She's not the devil. She's the most beautiful woman in the world. I never said she was the devil. She's the most beautiful woman in the world. Oh, please don't hurt me.
Number 14, you don't mess with the Zohan. Much higher on this list than I expected it to be. At first, it is such an outrageous parody of action films, and it's having so much fun that I honestly thought it was going to crack my top 10. As soon as Zohan gets to America, things take a turn. It gets extremely bogged down by a stupid plot and by the same gags that get less and less funny as the almost 2-hour runtime goes on.
I'll get to you all soon as I'm all the way done with Mrs. Skitzel.
Sandler thought, hey, this guy having sex with old people is super funny, right? Let's put that in here. But it doesn't make any sense. It doesn't work. It actually takes away from the other gags in the film. If you were trying to parody the James Bond has sex with beautiful women thing, then fine, awesome. But it's established that he has sex with young women early in the film, and he's chasing an extremely beautiful young woman the whole movie. So they clearly aren't being satirical, but just thought Adam having sex with old women is funny? At this point, Sandler is just too big of a star, and he just has his friends writing for him, and it just becomes a mess. This film isn't as fun as it should be.
Hey, gotcha! Let's play. Look at you!
Number 15. Hotel Transylvania. Now, clearly, Adam was picked for the voice of this film because of his connections. Most of Happy Madison films are Columbia Pictures, which is owned by Sony, who also owns, surprise, Sony Picture Animations. So it's just super easy to bring him over. The problem is, his Dracula voice isn't very good.
Wait, aren't you gonna suck my blood?
Ugh, classic human paranoia. Human blood is so fatty and you never know where it's been.
But his name will sell movies, so gotta put him in there. As far as the film goes, it's a dumb kid's film. It doesn't try to do anything new or anything that adults will like. It's just fast and colorful. Technically, it's a mess. The film doesn't do a good job of making other kinds of jokes besides lazy monster jokes or does any kind of world building. I have no idea what the rules are in this universe and what the stakes are because the film just does a horrible job of setting that up. I know it's a kid's film, but there's really no excuse for it to be that lazy. I mean, some of the jokes are so lazy that they're actually amazing. You'll be sitting there, watching a scene, and then this happens. What did I just watch? Did that sponge get some sort of weird pleasure out of soaking up pee? No other objects are personified like that. It comes out of nowhere, and we never see it again. It's so stupid. It's amazing. I could watch this pee sponge all day. People actually made a YouTube video where this thing repeats 16 times. There needs to be a 1-hour supercut of this. Overall, the film isn't awful, but it's meh and extremely predictable. Number 16, The Ridiculous Six. The film with the worst Rotten Tomato score on this list with a 0%. I mean, I get why it has a 0%. No one should give this thing a good review, but it is so stupid and so offensive that it's a film that you could watch while drinking with a group of friends and have a good time. There are so many moments like that pee sponge from Hotel Transylvania that you'll start to question your own sanity. And here's an example. So you'll be watching the film and all of a sudden you'll see Adam Sandler's real life wife, who is in way too many of his movies by the way, dressed up like a Native American doing an extremely offensive accent.
And dream you naughty white knight.
Your brain will still be struggling to pull all of that together when Rob Schneider shows up and he's Mexican. How racist is and he has a donkey. That projectile Why? Oh, they need to rob a bank. Okay. Is that Hurley from Lost? Okay. He could only speak gibberish? Am I losing my... They're singing.
Fun to have brothers.
from different mothers.
The movie is exactly what it says it is. It's ridiculous, but I don't understand what they're trying to accomplish with it. Behind the scenes, a small group of Native American extras walked off set because of how offensive the movie was. And one of the producers tried to defend the film by saying that it's satirical and they're making fun of the racism in Westerns. The problem is, the people involved with this production are too stupid to understand the difference between satire, farce, and just repeating tired stereotypes and counting them as jokes. What exactly are you trying to say with Vanilla Ice's Mark Twain?
I finally read Prince and the Pauper.
Oh, is that right?
Didn't get it.
For reals?
Satire!
You're just throwing shit at a wall and hoping it sticks, literally. That said, it's definitely so bad that it's good. It's not as good as, say, Hard Ticket to Hawaii with how bad/fun it is, but if you want to invite over a bunch of friends, have a few beers, and make fun of a movie together, then Ridiculous 6 is for you.
These white guys cannot dance.
Number 17, Pixels.
All right, we need a big summer action comedy blockbuster for the summer. What's big right now?
Nostalgia, especially about video games.
Perfect. Make a movie about video games. Throw Adam Sandler in there. He sells tickets.
We could just take the plot of a short story and stretch it out into a full film.
Great. Also throw someone in there from Game of Thrones. That's popular.
And we'll make Kevin James the president.
We are now rich.
Ha ha ha.
Laughing sound.
My wife left me.
So I actually have a lot to say about this movie, so much so that it's just gonna have to be its own video. But you should just know that this was Sandler's last film before being banished to Netflix.
Who are you, mister?
Son, I'm just a loser who's good at old video games.
Well, thank God for that.
Number 18, Blended. They're not even trying anymore.
Have some French onion soup.
Wedding Singer and 50 First Dates made a bunch of money, so let's just throw Drew Barrymore and Adam Sandler together again and just wait for the cash to roll in. Thankfully, it didn't. Oh God, it did. Okay, not a ton, but still, there is no justice. Two single parents originally meet and hate each other, but accidentally go on vacation together and end up falling in love. That's the film, and it's that stupid. There's this running joke about how one of Drew Barrymore's boys likes to masturbate to photos from magazines with a photo of his crush taped over the model's face. That boy's a psychopath. Now, Sandler has used films in the past to get a free vacation. Why a millionaire needs to do this is beyond me, but Blended takes it too far. They go all the way to South Africa, which they just call Africa 99% of the time, by the way, just to stay at a hotel the entire time. It's an all-inclusive hotel, so it's basically a cruise ship where you never leave. It's the Sandals of South Africa. Hope you enjoy scenes that take place in a hotel because there's plenty of that. Don't worry, they'll make the trip worthwhile with B-roll of elephants and lions. There is one awesome part of the film. Adam Sandler and Drew Barrymore meet while they're both getting coffee in the morning. They talk for a bit, it's stupid, but then they see two rhinos mating, which is also stupid. Then, in embarrassment, they both leave, and this man turns to the camera, looks straight into the lens, and says,
You won't see that in New Jersey.
What? Why did that happen? What is going on? Who's he talking to?
You won't see that in New Jersey.
Alright guys, that wraps up my part 1 of Adam Sandler Please Stop. I'm working on part 2 right now. It should be up very soon. If it is, you'll see a link right there to go check it out. If not, you could subscribe, and if you want to get notified when it shows up, you can click that little bell thing. Whatever you want to do. You're your own person.